As many of you have heard, Andrew Cuomo is running to be the next mayor of New York City, trying to make one of the biggest political comebacks in 2025, and this is going to be very easy for him because Eric Adams is quite unpopular. He's not very much liked by a lot of Democrats, and some people are even expecting for him to switch to the GOP and maybe even run in their primary. If you see in most of the polling recently, and the latest one from a few days ago, it actually has Andrew Cuomo easily winning by an absolute landslide, and even in the final round he defeats Stringer, who is the comptroller of New York City, and he's quite popular. But I think no matter what happens, Eric Adams is gonna be primaried and or losing in the general election. The main issues for Andrew Cuomo in 2025 and maybe even 2028 is his past controversies from the COVID nursing home scandal, which unfortunately a lot of them were unalived by the policies it took by that time, which really is why a lot of people in the GOP primary, I should say just Republicans overall, really dislike Andrew Cuomo. Furthermore, he gave us one of the most jaw-dropping response to a assault scandal, saying, "I'm not perverted, I'm just Italian," which is by far one of the most, it's still unbelievable years later that he actually said this. And back to incumbent mayor Eric Adams, people dislike him not only because of the high crime rates, the migrant crisis, but Democrats hate him because of the quid pro quo between him and Trump, in which Adams would help ICE and Tom Homan, and in exchange the Trump DOJ dropped the Turkish corruption bribe charges against him, which really helped him out and basically made sure Eric Adams did not have to resign. Furthermore, we go to the betting markets. Andrew Cuomo, I mean, look at that. He's just easily winning, even in the betting markets, by absolute landslides. Might even break into the 80%, likely to become the next mayor of New York City, even though just a few years ago he resigned because of those scandals that I mentioned. It's almost looking like there is no shot of anyone else winning in New York City in the mayoral race, unless something big happens in the next coming months before the election in November. Editor PMS here, and we have some big news from establishment politician and New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand, and she recently said that she's completely fine with Cuomo making a comeback into politics. And the reason why this is big is because if you remember back in the day, Gillibrand built her whole career and brand on being a leading advocate for women's rights, especially against assault and harassment. And she even was the first person, as maybe some of you remember, to call out Al Franken's resignation over misconduct allegations against women. And if she's okay with Cuomo making a comeback into politics, despite the multiple allegations against him, you can bet that the rest of the establishment is really completely fine with him running in 2025. And heck, some even might think he might be the second coming of Trump, which he's not, trust me. And it just tells you how out of touch some of these politicians and people unfortunately are. I'd say his coalition really is very strong with Latino voters, black voters, some Jewish voters, maybe some labor unions, some older Democrats. But his weaknesses really are those scandals, which you can't really turn the other cheek to, and other weaknesses probably would say progressives, women voters. So that's really why, even though there's no polling here for demographically, I'm guessing that those demographics really are the ones dragging down Cuomo. But still, he does have the support in the Democratic Party, and I think he's on track, like I said in that poll, to easily win this because Eric Adams is just that unpopular, and Democrats are actually seeing him as a potential 2028 candidate. Not all of them, of course, but there's a chance that maybe Andrew Cuomo could get backed by the establishment to run in 2028 against possibly, most likely, J.D. Vance and Trump's successor in the GOP primary. So if I had to make a map with Andrew Cuomo in 2028 against Vance, this is how it would look like, in my opinion. First of all, these are the safe states easily going for each party because of partisanship. And like I said, Andrew Cuomo's coalition is real. I think his coalition is very much tailed towards New York, so I think he does terrible on a national level. For example, Oregon, in my opinion, it would be likely D. Probably does even worse than Harris there. Colorado, it actually wouldn't even be able to go save D, even as a left trending state. So yeah, already not looking good for him. Illinois, I don't think it drops to lean D, but yeah. New York, I do think he barely gets safe D here. So yeah, it's his home state, so he gets a lot of home state advantage, and he wins here by more than Harris. One of the few states, in my opinion, that does really happen. Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New Jersey. I think Connecticut and Rhode Island drop off from and trend to the right with Cuomo, and even New Jersey. I'm not sure of the margin because I know that he does appeal to a lot of Italian Americans, but I don't know. I'm not gonna give a margin, but I think it's likely D. Meanwhile, for the GOP already, you can see that Texas, Alaska, Florida are already safe R, and this is gonna tell you how bad Andrew Cuomo would be in the in the 2020 election, Arizona easily likely could even do worse than Harris in 2028 because of all his scandals and appeal that he doesn't have towards female voters. I think that assault would really kill his chances with any woman voters. Apart from that, you can see that Maine at large drops off to lean D already, so it's already looking like an awful map. For Democrats in 2028, they wouldn't be able to get a lot of the suburban voters that maybe voted Biden in 2020 but Trump in 2024. Probably those would swing to the right yet again. Mexico lean D, Virginia lean D. I mean, it's not surprising because of Cuomo. I mean, a lot of Democrats see him as like their version of Trump, but trust me, he's not like Trump. You're gonna lose big if you nominate Andrew Cuomo in 2028, and I don't even know who in their right mind thinks Andrew Cuomo would even have a shot at winning in 2028, especially. He doesn't even have appeal to progressives or populists, so yeah. For example, I mean, Nevada, I was thinking maybe putting this as tilt or likely, but I'm gonna go with lean R, so yeah. North Carolina, weirdly enough, I think it's lean R yet again. And here's where you're gonna see how bad Andrew Cuomo is. He might have appealed to some of the labor unions in New York, but New York unions versus Rust Belt unions, it's two different ball games. And I think he does terribly in the 2nd district of Nebraska, which is a bit of a hot take, but I do think he wouldn't fit into those states. Michigan, he does terribly. Wisconsin, he does terribly. Yeah, Pennsylvania, probably his best shot, but still he does terribly and loses there. Also because he doesn't have any rural appeal, so I mean, Vance would get record high turnout in the rules. Apart from that, you also gotta add New Hampshire. I feel like he would do terribly in New Hampshire, a state that barely went to Harris. I actually think would go to JD Vance. It also depends on the economy, but nominating Cuomo would be an absolute terrible idea for Democrats to do. And lastly, for the two final states, even though he doesn't have even though Cuomo doesn't have the best appeal to youth voters and young voters and swing voters, Georgia is trending to the left, like I said before. And even if Cuomo was the nominee in 2028, it barely goes for the GOP still. Could even maybe go to Cuomo, which would be cursed to say the least, but yeah, tilt R. And Minnesota, briefly, I think that Cuomo, even though he has all those scandals, I'm still gonna give it to the Democrats just because of how much of a tight fist Democrats have in the state of Minnesota. And this is really why Democrats should not even be thinking of nominating Andrew Cuomo in 2028, and he shouldn't even be running for mayor. He should retire and just call it quits. It's a terrible idea, change that. And Democrats need to look somewhere else for a nominee in the next election, or else they're gonna not learn their lesson from 2024 and get beat down yet again in 2028, 3.5 years time. But yeah, let me know if you like this new style video. Kinda wanted to do something new. As always, let me know what your map looks like. Tell me what you think of Andrew Cuomo for mayor, and maybe even for president. Feel free to leave a like, join the Discord, and the channel membership. And as always, have a good rest of your day.